Good day, my fellow nerds. Welcome back to the Corner of Remnant. I'm your host, Larissa, and joined by co-host Emperial Dawn.
Yo.
And today we are discussing the RWBY Volume 9 finale, episode 10. Yay. It's kind of sad because, it's over. But it was an amazing episode. It was so good, so...
Really was. Really good.
It was really good.
Yeah, I mean, it capped off of what it was a very, very good volume. Despite the wait and despite everything, I thought it was worth it. I thought it was a really good story. I thought, really good episode, and it's a bit bittersweet. That we're here, another hiatus after another 10 weeks, and we're back to hiatus mode again.
Yep.
But RTX is only a few months away, and I'm sure we'll get at least something, an update around then, whether or not it's confirmation or if it's like we need to wait a bit longer before we hear anything, but. It's not too long before we'll get something more. We won't be in the silence for too long.
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll find out about Volume 10 being greenlit. That's sort of still up in the air, but fingers crossed. We just have to make sure, you're watching the episodes on Crunchyroll, watch the DC movie that came out, and just typing it up on social media, and hopefully we'll get some confirmation soon about Volume 10.
We will not be discussing the DC movie in this. We will do a separate podcast. You will do a separate podcast in a few weeks' time or so when we do that. So just FYI, we'll be only discussing the finale
just
today.
The finale today. And when the soundtrack is released, we'll do a podcast to discuss that as well. Casey did post as well that it won't be as long as a wait as previous volumes, but it is still a few months away. There's still a lot that they need to do with the soundtrack. We only really got 2 full songs. The rest are little snippets, so they still had to finish those songs, and then they had to do all the scores. There's a lot of stuff that goes on with it.
It's just the same as Jeff. We'd only get 2 full songs. We wouldn't even get that. We'd probably only just get the credit song, and that'd be it in full.
Yeah, usually it's just the credit song.
So we've got more than usual as far as Casey goes, and I think Casey being more involved with the fandom, I think she has more of a a more direct line of I need to get this done kind of thing, and younger. Obviously she has a lot of. She has OK Goodnight, and she's going on tour soon, so obviously she'll be busy herself.
Yeah, she's very busy.
And I don't mean any disrespect when I'm saying this at all to Jeff. He did fantastic work for so long and stuff, and just does a great job. But I think there's just a bit more of a fan connection with Casey because she's on social media and she has a bit more of a connection to us. So I feel like she'll have a bit more of an eagerness to get this done for us.
Yeah, definitely.
Than Jeff did because. Which, all respect to both parties. I'm not saying either way was right or wrong. But I'm just very, I'm very excited to get the
I'm very excited to get the soundtrack. Yes.
Yeah. And I guess since we're talking about it, overall, I think Casey and Martin have done an incredible job.
Absolutely.
On the soundtrack, Peter Reed and everyone else who's worked on the scores and stuff.
The music's been really good. Yeah, we've got quite a few tracks. I think. Well, how many? I know. Talked to Kate and Queen Noob about it. I think there was 8.
I mean, we had one almost every other episode.
Yeah, pretty much.
This episode we had 2 in one. So, make sure also to go and buy Inside and go buy The Edge while they're singles at the moment before the soundtrack comes out, because that helps Casey along.
Yep.
She's while she's argue probably a bit more independent than Jeff was when he was making the soundtrack. So, make sure, most of that money I'm fairly certain goes to Casey, not to RWBY or Rooster Teeth, I believe.
Yeah,
so,
I believe so.
Go support her and make sure that you help her and,
Yeah.
Because, again, all the more positive you can give, if you can give anything, obviously, take care of yourself first. If you can give anything to the show, that's given so much to us. We really appreciate it. And,
if you're financially able, definitely, it would be good to support Casey and support, of course, with the DC movie, buying that and everything. Yeah. And watching on Crunchyroll.
All these things just help, dumb people higher up think, maybe we're worth putting money into this. So that's all that matters, unfortunately.
Absolutely.
How the world works. It sucks. I know a lot of people have their opinions on Rooster Teeth and stuff, but at the end of the day, I'd like to give people their jobs back rather than just be mean at Rooster Teeth for Rooster Teeth's sake. I'd much rather try and get people their jobs back. So I'm going to support them. Yes. I know I've obviously had a Crunchyroll subscription that expires. My Rooster Teeth subscription, my first subscription, goes back online. So I'm going to support them that way. Make sure to support them however you can. But enough of the bloody advertising for them aside. We had an incredible episode.
It was so good.
And I imagine me and Larissa are going to be definitely excited about different things, because I think we have very different tastes in terms of like what things excite us most about the show.
Yes.
So naturally, I was excited about the. I can't. And by the way, make sure you watch Larissa's reaction. Obviously, if you're watching this live, or regardless, that's up now because we're doing this a day late.
We're doing this a day late. Yeah, it's we did do that. Sorry, too, because I wasn't feeling well yesterday, so recording
that's
this
completely fine
on the Sunday. So my reaction is already live. If you haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, the fact that I can't believe when I watched your reaction that Raven pops up and you're just like, "Oh, hi, Raven."
I wasn't even like surprised.
I was so. Again, obviously, we had Summer, we had Ty, Raven showing up wasn't that surprising, but it was just to me where I'm like,
oh,
they wouldn't pull up that old model. They wouldn't make new vacuo assets for this. I was like so cynical, like they'll do the minimum amount of work, But then seeing Raven was so awesome, but also getting the end of the fairy tale and getting kind of the confirmation that this is the Summer's last meeting with Summer and Yang.
Yeah, we got to finally find out a little bit more about this mission as such that she was on. Crow mentioned it was a Summer thing, so we know it wasn't related to Osborn.
Well, we know now it was a Summer Raven thing.
Yeah, well, yes. Yeah.
So, which I love because I love...
Hello again.
Because I've always...
Thank you for the follow. Inspector who reacts
really, really enjoyed Raven as a character, despite, a lot of opinions about her and stuff and how much of a horrible person she is and whatever. But I still have always really enjoyed her character, and I love getting little bits of, like, little things that maybe make Raven's... Little bits and pieces that make Raven's character more understanding. Clearly she felt guilty. She felt guilty that Summer was going to do the same thing she was doing.
Yeah.
She's like, it's like, yes, I ran away. That's because I knew you'd pick up my slack.
Yeah. You're better at
that
Summer,
sort of thing. Yeah. And now seeing Summer walk away from it, obviously expecting to come back, but she felt guilty about that. And again, I just love seeing that general concern of like, it's like I left, but that's me. You're better than me. Why are you leaving?
Yeah, definitely.
So
I really like
appreciate that.
Their chemistry. We got to see a little bit of their interactions together. I really enjoyed that.
The Rosebird shippers lost their minds
of course they did.
on Twitter. They're just saying all things about Raven and Summer and Raven looking up Summer and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, guys, calm down.
Chill. We just got a few seconds of footage. I really enjoyed the scene. Even though Summer sort of expected to come back, she did also think about the possibility or not, because she left a rose emblem with Ruby, of course, on the book.
Yeah.
And it would Ty, like she lied to Ty, which you could tell though, like when he approached her before she turned around, like she had that emotion in her eyes, like, oh, I don't want to, I'm about to leave.
It's always so funny too, as a Rooster Teeth fan from the 2015 era. Whenever I hear Bernie's voice again, I've noticed like Bernie. It's so funny. Bernie disappeared off the face of the planet, but he just shows up to do Ty, and I love that. That's like the only thing you hear about Bernie is when he shows up to do Ty's voice. So I always love hearing Ty for that reason, especially as well. Seeing him obviously younger without the beard, like we saw in the photo, which was a nice little detail. Like he did less scruff and stuff. So that was because obviously it's like 20 years before his new model, but little details like that are always nice. Like Raven didn't have a sags under her eyes.
Yes. Yeah.
There's little changes and stuff.
Little details like that was really nice to get the feeling that. Yeah. This was Ruby and Yang were only little, so yeah. Yeah,
but it is interesting to see that Raven hadn't fully gone to the tribe yet. Like she still stuck around for a few years. Yes. Once Summer was gone, she had no reason to stay around. That's when she went back to the tribe permanently, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's cool to see that she was still around. She was still looking out for Yang and Ruby to an extent.
Yeah.
At this time,
hey,
earlier in this time.
How are you?
Obviously, one of the first things mentioned is the whole "I love you just as you are," and that's like a big point for this episode.
Absolutely.
Like you said, the mother's promise. The mother's promise thing. Which I was kind of twisted in a way to where it's like we always thought mother's promise, like I'll come back, which it was. But the fact that she mentions "I love you just the way you are" and then leaves, ties that around into almost again why Ruby keeps her emblem and why that's not one thing that changes.
Yeah.
When she comes back, is that she still keeps it yes, this is Summer's, but this is mine now.
Yeah.
And that's that I take this as my own, which I love, because that ties also into Weiss's character as well a lot. With taking the Schnee emblem and kind of that being her insignia and stuff. It's a nice parallel with those characters.
And the other thing with the scene too, so of course we're seeing Raven and they teleport out. The only person that we know of, because we don't think it will be Vinole yet, because Vinole would have been too young at this stage, will be Crow. So Crow did know something about this mission.
Well,
I don't know, but
not necessarily. I mean, again, I believe that Crow was not involved, like Ty was not involved. I believe this was just a Raven and Summer thinking they could take on the world like a bunch of girl bosses.
Yeah.
That they are. Again, so does that again? Is that So what does that mean as far as the portals are concerned? Was there another? Was there?
It depends where Crow was at the time too, and what actual
Summer
was planning as well.
I just believe what we've been told by Crow, that he's not involved in this. I could be wrong. I understand that obviously the portal has to go somewhere. Now, could that be an oversight on the creator's part, or is there a tie somewhere? I think
he knows a little bit more than he let on, but I still also think that he didn't know all the details. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just trusting. I'm choosing to believe what Crow was saying in Volume 7 for now. Like, this was a Summer secret that he wasn't involved in it, and he obviously didn't know Raven was involved in it. Obviously, could be wrong, but
interesting.
I'm
at
choosing
least
in that instance.
Like, this is another little puzzle piece to the puzzle of like what happened with Summer. But at least we're finding out a little bit more information now, which is really good. Of what happened.
I liked the parallel of the shoulder check as well between Raven and Yang in Volume 5.
Yes.
And then Summer doing it to
Raven.
Raven here.
Yes.
I like that parallel. You know, and again, that's just again. I always remember thinking, you know, the crying in Raven in Volume 5 is always a bit of a skip, like a bit of a leap in her character to just cry, especially to Yang. But when that happens, you imagine Summer's just thinking like Raven. Because Raven probably feels responsible for Summer's death.
Yeah, well.
Or what happens to her.
So
just seeing Yang go down the exact same path Summer was.
Yeah.
Just triggered that in Summer. And Summer, we saw here clearly like Summer a lot. Like, you know, she actually is quite good friends with Summer and cares for her and stuff. You know, probably more so than Crow and Ty.
Yeah.
At least at this point. So they were close. Yeah. So seeing her and daughter, regardless of how she feels about her and daughter, seeing her and daughter go the exact same path, it's got to be was hard for her, and that's why she was crying back.
That's why she was crying. Yeah, because she could.
Yeah, so that's a good.
What happened to Summer could happen to Yang and
full circle moment. Yeah, because clearly whatever happened, it spooked Raven to the point where she realized that fighting Salem was impossible and stuff. And
whatever happened.
I do like to that. If for whatever reason this is the end of RWBY.
Yes.
And it doesn't continue. I like that. I feel like thematically it does work really well in the sense that Salem is a villain that cannot be beaten. So if the show ends with her not being beaten, I feel like that almost does thematically make sense.
Yeah.
And I feel like it justifies Raven a bit more in her actions because she realized that you can never win.
Yes.
So to not actually get a victory out of everything kind of does work thematically. I think they did a really good job where if this worst could happen and this doesn't continue, I feel like it works. We'll talk about it more when we get to the end of the episode.
Yeah,
but, I just feel like with Raven's attitude, I feel like that thematically works in quite well.
Yeah.
And
I think the other really good point with this scene as well was that RWBY saw it. So we didn't just see it. RWBY saw this. Yeah.
RWBY saw this.
And
then and again, it was that kind of it was that final nail in the coffin that Summer wasn't perfect. She wasn't the baker of cookies and slayer of giant monsters.
Well, she was, but she wasn't.
She was, but obviously RWBY had this idealistic, perfect vision of her mother.
Of course, yeah.
And all it took was one lie, one deception for her to realize that my reality has been shattered. It's why she shatters the case. You know, it's this idea of like what did everything I believe was a lie, and all this, and it's just like,
and that's what the blacksmith said in that scene as well, was that
the weight of
expectations and weight of others. It's something, it wasn't just something RWBY's experiencing, but also her mother and Alex had similar sort of responsibilities.
Yeah. Like, as much as you're feeling guilty and you're feeling this burden, it's not just on you. And, while you feel like it is, it's on Alex, it was on Summer, it's on the rest of your team, it's on the world. It's one of those things where, she interprets that as like, and I like here that we kind of get the first change that despite what Ruby's done, despite the position she's in, she still feels like changing is giving up. Even though she's going through this gallery and she's looking about the changes, she's accepted giving up, and she's accepting this change until she kind of actually has to finally confront it. And she's like, wait, changing is giving up. This is not right,
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
I do just want to say Nightwalker as well as posted there. Very possibly another theory of what happened. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And also that Crow might have been blackout drunk and Raven pulled a good 60 foot away also. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's... Yeah, I'm reading the comment now.
Yeah, definitely could be.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of people, I think, theorize recently that the person Raven was talking about to Yang in Volume 5, the being the Spring Maiden, was actually Summer. That like that was the person she mercy killed, but she also wasn't giving all the details to Yang because obviously it was too hard for her.
It's true.
I don't personally follow that, but that goes in that same line of like Raven had to kill Summer. Despite it, So I'm not. Yeah, as far as that, I would just assume that they went and. I don't
hopefully
know.
We'll find out what happened.
Hopefully we do, because it's one of those things where it Volume 5, it comes off to me that Raven had never actually fought or met Salem. It's all these things she heard about and all these things she kind of had to deal with and stuff. So, I'm trying to think. I don't think they would have confronted... I think Summer obviously probably would have tried to confront Salem.
Yeah.
But then again, like, and it's interesting too, Summer mentions that, or at least Ty, or, the implication that Ozpin is involved in whatever Summer's doing. Now, obviously, Crow doesn't believe that was the case.
Yeah. It was a Summer thing.
And, it was a Summer thing. Me and Oz were just in the dark, as he said, but Ozpin lies. So, but Summer implies that this is an Ozpin thing, but that obviously could be lying just to Ty.
Yeah.
To not the truth of what he's actually doing. And, again, it just makes me think more and more, why isn't Ty more involved? There's clearly something here, because he seems like he's the black sheep. He's maybe the one that wasn't informed. He was the one that wasn't recruited. He was a part of the team, but he wasn't really one of Ozpin's agents. He was kind of just kept in the dark on everything.
Oh, I think he had the responsibility to Ruby and Yang, and at the end of the day, maybe he made the decision he didn't want to participate in any of these missions because he wanted to look after the girls.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I completely understand that, but people give Raven so much crap for the same decision. I understand she also abandoned Yang. I totally understand that.
Yeah.
But I feel like being mad at Raven for that is you're just as justified as being mad at Ty for the same reason. Because if he knows everything and is doing nothing about it, granted, for more better reasons than Raven is, I still feel like he's not... Yeah, like, I get that he's not involved at the moment. Granted, it wouldn't surprise me if he's in vacuo at this point, by the end of the volume.
Yeah.
I think now he would be involved just after Ruby's message, which... that's a whole... We'll get to that, because that's a whole important part of this episode, is the message back in Volume 8.
Yeah.
But... Yeah. Jumping back to the tree, and we get Jean in the smoke, and he kind of has this, much like, rather than seeing himself, he sees Alex, because that's in this world, that's the big thing for him. But he also does see himself in the sense like he does flash between his old self. So it's kind of like
see that, which was really cool.
It's almost like it's an inner conflict, and Alex is the result of it, rather than fighting himself like we saw Team Ruby did.
Yes.
And Alex is like, again, like, he couldn't save me, and John couldn't save a lot of people. Emperial, Penny, a lot of people John couldn't save, which I like that kind of,
But it sort of shows that he's come to that acceptance now. Yes, he couldn't save those people. He couldn't save Alex, but he could now save others by becoming the person he needs to be. Yeah, I really like that message.
Yeah, it was
his character as well.
Yeah, it was an interesting scene because, like, obviously, it almost looks like he's going to accept the ascension. He's going to accept Alex in this moment.
Yeah.
But then, like, he breaks away at the last second. or I guess it's the idea like that acceptance is him breaking away. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so because she grabbed
super clear when I first watched
her hand, and then then he was out of the smoke. So, yeah.
Yeah. But whether that was him accepting, then rejecting, or accepting, which means he got out of the smoke. Yeah. Even though I feel like the scene was implying that accepting it would stay in the smoke and ascend, but didn't, obviously, so...
No, I think accepting it was getting out of the smoke, not necessarily ascending as such.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
that was
fair
my
enough.
feeling.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. I guess I just misinterpreted the scene. That's fair.
Yeah.
So we go back to the fight, and we get some like old school freezer burn, which is nice. I like it. You mentioned that your reaction, which was cool.
There's so many throwbacks to volume 1 and 2, or even 3, I suppose, in this episode. Yeah. Mm.
Yeah. I like the I always love the ties to Joan of Arc and the fire when it comes to John's character and Emperial as well. So the whole thing, cutting down the tree, getting Neo into the smoke and stuff to hopefully,
came to that realization. It's like, the smoke.
Because the idea is like, the cat, as we later find out, is like the first creation of the gods.
Yes.
So it's one of those things where like he doesn't ascend. So like this idea that him being trapped in him being trapped in a body that's going to ascend, means like we have to get out because he doesn't know what that's like. He doesn't know what they'll do to him. So he has to flee. Neo manages to escape the smoke and stuff, and then very. I've seen a few people references like how very, if you're a Pokemon fan, how very Incineroar litten the cat is.
He evolved.
A little cat, like a little cat form to the white cat form, now to this monster cat form, this bipedal cat, which was awesome stuff. And it's like one of those things.
I should like grab that clip and add like the Pokemon evolving sound to it.
That'd be a cool. That'd be a cool short.
I just thought of that. Should have played with that later.
But I like very much like he has like the cute little pure form that he has, and that's his like the original form.
Yeah.
Then he has this like possessive dark form. But then he has his actual fighting form. Which I remember when I first saw it, I'm like, or why hasn't he been this form before? Why did that form before? But it's all again manipulation and kind of like trying to gain trust and stuff. So he'd be this cute little cat, he can be this monster.
Yes.
Which again makes sense because he's like in a sense the second being of creation. In a certain point of view. So the idea he can change his form like that makes sense.
Yeah.
Whereas like
he's not like the other Afterins as well. Like so the smoke doesn't affect him. So there's no way he can actually take himself, to be at the tree to be able to be repaired, and as Vaxiv mentions later. So
yeah.
But
it is interesting too because obviously we learn kind of how the portal works later, and the whole idea the creations of the gods are always welcome in the ever after.
Yes.
So it's interesting that they still can't leave. Like that's only the gods can leave, or people from other worlds can leave. Like which it's like the portal was made just for the gods themselves to leave and explore the world. And therefore, their creations are free to go back and forth. But the Ever After is still its pure own thing that needs to kind of stay as it is. It's just the gods were allowed to leave. Like, they're the only people of the Ever After, the Afterins are allowed to leave. Which is a cool detail. And then we kind of get the whole scene, and we kind of get the whole thing of, like, maybe this girl is enough.
Yes.
This acceptance. And I like it because... Obviously, it's not what we were expecting, not what we were anticipating kind of thing. I did mention it's either something completely new or she'll stay herself. And to be fair, the whole stay herself thing was more for financial reasons and more like, not giving a new model and stuff, really.
Yes.
But when you look through the whole volume again and realize it's based around imposter syndrome, because I don't think we mentioned that once.
No, I don't think we have mentioned that.
It was more just an identity crisis, but now we learned in this episode it was much more about imposter syndrome, and the writers talk about how... And you go back and look through volume 5, through 7, 8, and 9, and you can see, like, Volume 7 is her finally being a leader and finally making the calls and lying to Ironwood and making the calls about Ozpin. And then you have 8 being the consequences of that. And, Yang not trusting her and kind of being like, maybe you shouldn't be leading us and all this kind of stuff. And the consequences of her leadership. And then 9 is the downfall and the, like, I shouldn't lead. I failed. So they've mentioned too, like, how these 3 volumes were one big kind of thing, and how like they themselves deal with imposter syndrome, which is why I think they handle it so well. And stuff, and it kind of comes to this realization that you are enough if you believe you are enough, and you shouldn't have to change. You shouldn't, you are in this position for a reason. Don't ever doubt yourself, because you wouldn't have got here in the first place if you weren't worthy.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of realize that, and that was kind of the message.
Such a beautiful message. Yeah, it was so good.
It was like it's one of those things where maybe isn't the most satisfying thing. Like I'm interesting to watch again people who don't watch RWBY and watch reactions to it, and I know some people refer to this as like a filler season, or some people refer to it as like oh, nothing actually changed. But I think that is the point. The point is that you shouldn't need to change, and that that sometimes you are enough, and you just have to kind of have that self-reassurance.
It was the character growth in this volume was the big thing, and they had this opportunity now away from the fighting and the war in Salem and everything. They had a chance to focus on them and their character growth. And this is going to be
again,
huge
it's one of those
things.
It's one of those things where just because you and I don't think it's fair to say this, but I also understand where people would come from in terms of just because you are one thing, you change and you go back to the thing you were before. That is still growth. That is still change. Even if you're right back at the same point, which I argue she isn't, but I get why people would say she is.
Yeah.
That's still growth. That's still change. That's still it's a roller coaster. She's gone down. She's now back up. That's still character development. That's still a thing. So in the end, I like that. I still would have liked maybe at least a new emblem, but I get the whole point of taking this emblem, the emblem for herself. And all that stuff, and it looks extra shiny now, and I love the people saying throughout the whole volume, Ruby's eyes were so much darker and so much less. But then in this scene, we get
she's so much more full of confidence as well. Like she just looks happy. She looks back to her not necessarily back to her old self. I would say she just looks more invigorated and more.
No, and it's one of those things where I'm really looking forward to seeing her deal with situations now going forward. And again, it's not over. I know some people still want more Penny resolution. Obviously when she sees Oster again, that's going to be significant. So I think there's still going to be moments of darkness and still moments of reflection. She's not going to be just this confident, powerful self going forward. She's still going to have smaller moments. But I'm love to see her now taking charge and and kind of accepting she's finally matured. I'm really interested to see what that'll be like. I loved the detail. I love the idea, the fan theory, that the only thing that changed about RWBY in this scene was that she actually aged up 2 years. So she's the same age as the rest of the girls. And I kind of like that. Obviously, it throws Rose Garden a bit more into this, but with the time skip, maybe it doesn't.
Well, that's it.
But I understand. How much time's passed. But I like the idea, even though it makes Ruby and Yang more like twins, which would be it'd be weird, looking back and thinking, wait, you're the same age, but you were born 2 years after. But I like the idea that maybe they're all equals now. That's just a complete speculation theory.
It's
I'm not saying that's the case.
Yeah, we don't know exactly. But I would like that
idea. Imagine if we get in a scene where everyone's checking their aura levels and stuff, and it pops up wait, Ruby, why are you 19 here? It's she's oh. Because again, Jean's levels would say maybe 40, or however old Jean is, despite. So I like the idea, and again, depending on how much time has passed and Oscar and stuff. So I like if we've got a bunch of age changes. I think that'd be a cool twist. At least making Ascension have a bit more of the idea your aura levels, your aura of ages and stuff like that. But again, that's all just complete speculation. But speaking of Oscar, I love the parallels of the falling.
Yes.
Just to seeing Ruby fall and catch Crescent Rose, and then you look back and see Oscar falling through Atlas and catching Long Memory. I like that parallel. I like the explosion from the eyes. Just
this whole
of all
scene
things.
was just so beautiful. I love the Red Light Roses theme as she's falling and catching Crescent Rose. The flash of light and then her shadow there amongst the trees again.
Just like the red trailer.
Yes.
It was really good. I liked everyone's. I liked everyone's particular reaction. I like Weiss was just happy to see a friend again.
Yes.
Yang was relieved that her sister was still a sister, and Blake, being the curious cat, was curious.
I was how?
And I like that the cat was perfect because puns and stuff. And I like that Jean being the foil, Jean being the parallel, Jean being the male Ruby is the one to understand. Is the one he's the one who's been here, the one who's
himself. As well,
because again, imposter syndrome is John is a character who has dealt with imposter syndrome. Well, especially for the whole show, but especially the however long he was in the Ever After.
Yes.
So he's the one who's dealt with it and stuff. And then we get, a shout out to Joel Mann, who has been a part of RWBY for the longest time, who did the whole fighting sequence.
Oh, was it
against
who
the
did
cats.
the fighting sequence?
I will say, not this is not criticism at all, because it was, again, I love seeing RWBY. This is the best RWBY we've seen in a long time. I love seeing old school RWBY and stuff. It's so satisfying to see RWBY fight the way we know she can fight.
Yes.
So but if you do look at the animations and compare them to her moves in Blaze Blue, it is very identical.
Oh, okay.
Like the way she fights, it's very similar. So there's a bit of like, but I don't care. It looked great. I don't care that it was the same animation, like the same, like, it wasn't the same animation. It was the same just moves, that she uses in Blaze Blue. But I didn't mind that. I still think it was awesome.
The Red Like Roses Part 3 theme was just amazing, and really looking forward to getting the full song of
Guide My Way. Is it Guide My Way?
Guide My Way. Yep, and they had in the credits in brackets Red Like Roses Part 3.
Yeah. But yeah, that's so good. And then we get like the fighting was awesome. We get the team up. We get maybe time dilation.
It looked possibly like the time dilation.
It wasn't the right glyphs, but it was just what, like, Weiss used time dilation, then did the bouncing glyphs in Volume 2. I think this was just the bouncing glyphs. It was just looked like time dilation. I don't think it actually was. But then you're seeing like the silhouettes and the lights and stuff was all just nice little, like, flavor text for the scene.
It was amazing.
Yeah, I thought the cat's dialogue when he woke up was a bit, like, I didn't really get, like, I feel like what you're saying wasn't making sense, but they was a bit delusional, a bit out of it at the time.
I think too, with the cat, I think he had this belief that humans were broken, useless things after, like, his experience with Alex.
I get his point. I think he was just saying, like,
attack persona, yes.
I think the delivery just was weird. I don't know. There's something about going back and listening to it, and it's just like, I feel like you're saying a sentence, not responding to what, like, I feel like you were just saying something completely independent from what they were saying. Like, he wasn't responding. He wasn't. I don't know. Maybe
I really like the voice acting in that scene though, because he goes from this really gruff self to his whiny cat voice.
Maybe it's just the dialogue or something. I'm not sure. There's just like, maybe that's like, again, it's one of these. I think there was like a missing word or something in there.
Oh, okay.
That just made it always jump out of my head. But regardless, what he said was still important, and the fact that she's none of those things. That's why we follow her. Was a nice detail, and are the Jabberwockers real or not? I still feel like we don't have an answer to that question.
Well, what I'm thinking
happened. Are correct. I don't know why Neo was so strong. It still doesn't make sense to me.
I think, I think Neo killed the Jabberwocker after she arrived with their clones.
Sure.
That's what I think, because we haven't seen the original Jabberwocker since then. And I think just being with her clones being so close to what the Jabberwocker is, they're taking on that sort of, it's the Jabberwocker in the Ever After now. So it still has that role in the Ever After.
Yeah, but it's like, it's just confusing why her semblance now can create real, like, she now has the power of creation in a sense, which I do like thematically works. Because she stays in the Ever After. Yeah. So the idea, if the Jabberwocker is, if the cat is broken and is now with the blacksmith and stuck there until it can be repaired.
Well, I don't think it can be, because if
will that work? Okay, that's fine. Well, I think the blacksmith mentioned something about can't being repaired, but still has it. Maybe anyway. But I like the idea that Neo could ascend and take the role of the cat now in the Ever After.
Yes.
And become. But both. She could ideally become the new offspring of creation, but also with the Jabberwockers she can create. Also, in a sense, she almost becomes the Omnigod of this world, because she takes both the cat and the Jabberwockers roles.
Yeah.
Even though I think thematically that works, I still think power-wise, I don't get why that's the case.
Yeah.
But other than just, obviously, she's in this ideal world, she's grieved from Roman and RWBY and stuff, so she's just far more powerful than she would be. But I am glad that, because whatever she's so powerful, again, I said it before, I like the fact that she's separated. I have no problem with the fact that she's accepted her. I like that RWBY, despite everything, still felt pity for her and concern for her and stuff. And I like that.
She let Roman actually go, kind of like
very thematically, like let the past die, let it go, and even in the end, still put up her umbrella, was still willing to fight, but still respected them, and still went off into the tree. She was still a cheeky old self again, but accepted being part of the tree. And it's one of those things too, where Neo could now essentially could now show up at Black Raven any time for the rest of the show, because she can. Because remember, she can be sent to any time, any place, anywhere once she's done.
Yeah.
Like time does not matter here. So the idea that Neo could show up at the very end of the show and just kill Cinder out of nowhere and disappear again, like that's completely what can happen for her to return, or she can stay happily ever after.
Yeah.
In the ever after. So, either way, I like that that's a thread that doesn't have to be picked up again, but it can be at any point. It's a hanging thread there, like Raven. How Raven can show up at any point, any time. Neo can now do that at any point.
Yeah.
For the rest of the show.
And if not, if this is the end of Neo, I think it was a very satisfying ending for her story.
I think so too. I'm just glad. Yeah. I'm not mad that the cat didn't get to go on to Salem as I speculated. I'm more happy that Neo just got her own ending. She got her own choice.
Yeah.
In the end, and she chose to.
And a very, very funny expression. There you are. It only just happened, so okay.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, exactly. But, Walker, yeah. I think too, it might also be the Ever After just affected her semblance too. We don't know how
I think so too.
Work in the Ever After.
Roman mentioned that, once Neo realized where she was, because she was familiar with the Ever After, once she realized where she was, it was kind of like this, I'm in a fairy tale. I'm in this world I've always wanted to be in, and it just like kind of brought this power on her. Again, being betrayed by Cinder and RWBY stuff. I get that it all does make sense, but I just feel like there was just that missing bit of clarification. But it is Neo. She can't talk. There's not really much clarification we can get for her. So I don't mind it. Again, I'm just really interested watching. I'm just really interested in other reactors who aren't familiar with RWBY, how they'll interpret that. I'm really interested to see that way. Goddamn Blind Wave, watch Reactor RWBY already. You mentioned Mandalorian, so start doing it. They mentioned their Mandalorian reactions. They're going to start doing RWBY reactions again soon, so hopefully soon. Anyway, I like that. When we get to the RWBY is obviously talking about like didn't see Little and stuff. Even though she did, she didn't realize she did, but she did. She saw Little being forged in the thing. But when somewhat reappears to us, I love that she was bouncing just like Penny was. Back in
she was so happy.
She had the same little animation cycle. And I like that she accepted. She realized the fact that Somewhat wouldn't know who she was, and she kind of very mature about it. She wasn't sad or upset or angry.
Like,
she was just like. Oh right, of course you would know who I am. But she knows who she is, and that's all that matters. They know who she knows who they are, so that's all that matters to RWBY in that point. And I like that it calls back to the heart remembers.
Yes.
By somewhat remembering, which I like that as well. Somewhat remembering, RWBY and the whole point of you are a hero, you're a friend, you're a guardian, you're adorable, and it's like, well, I'm somewhat of those things. Somewhat. That's my name.
It's so cute. I also love how his little cape has sort of very reminiscent of RWBY's.
It's very RWBY inspired.
On his shoulders, and then it's the leaf at the cape, which is really cute. I love that. Yeah, and what was I going to say? We still don't know whether it was a bit of Penny's soul that was little.
So here's So. I remember when you were mentioning that, and Alex and Juniper and stuff in your reaction.
Yeah.
I'm of the belief that most of that was just fan speculation going wild. I think these are their own independent characters, which I think thematically makes more sense, especially with imposter syndrome and that kind. Like, these are their own people. They are who they are. I don't think they're... And again, a one-person... Intercell, I apologize, I never have to pronounce. I know we always read something, they have to pronounce it. You're always I don't know how to pronounce it. There's someone on Twitter, Intercell, I believe. She's a massive nuts and bolts shipper. Yeah. And I've lived this volume through I'll say there because I'm not sure. I'll say there just to be safe. Their Twitter. So much. I lived through their Twitter this volume. All their tweets. Most of my Twitter references are from them.
Oh yeah.
When it comes to my notes and stuff. And I know that they were very upset that there wasn't much of a Penny resolution, and stuff. And I get it. They love nuts and bolts. And again, so did I. I think in hindsight, the sword talk in episode 2, that was the resolution. That was the end of that. And it's just one thing we didn't realize at the time. So in hindsight, I think that's it. Obviously, we could get obviously with Amity Arena, we could get some Pietro stuff in volume 10. So we still could get some more Penny stuff for sure. But I feel like I didn't want Little to be Penny. I'm happy that Penny is finished. I've accepted that.
Yeah, and I think when it comes to Alex and Juniper, too, especially after watching this episode, I think that Alex went on to the actual afterlife that the rest of the
I think so. I think she left her sword behind. That was her ascension.
That left a little bit of herself behind in the after...
to fix the mistake she had. Because, again, I think if she had lived, if the cat hadn't killed her, I think she would have gone through and fixed Ever After and done everything she could. But because she had ascended, essentially, she had a choice to make, and she decided that her ascension would be the dagger. She ascends to the dagger to be a promise and a power left behind to help Jean when he finally arrived at the tree, like the blacksmith knew he would, because Alex left the dagger behind.
Yes.
So that's why the blacksmith knew that Jean would eventually have to get here. They all come together. I love that Juniper and Little are left to protect the Ever After, and we'll explain why that's so important in a second. When we get to like the little changes we make in the world and all that kind of stuff. Yes. So we all go through the door. I love that Jean lingers a little bit, saying goodbye to a tear and saying goodbye to Juniper. And they go through the door and end up again back in the tree. The blacksmiths, back to the void. I love that this is the first time Ruby is leading them. Yes. That she's the one leading them through the walk. Obviously, she knows where she is and she knows where she's been. I love the facial reactions. I love the facial animations in this in particular are really good. So it's like Blake being like, "Is Ruby is
this the tree?"
And Ruby's like, I love that little like oh, maybe.
My tree needs to get her kids.
But I like that too. I feel like this also, I like, I don't know, I'm sure different interpretation. I love that this kind of gives more clarity to the brothers, and I think the brothers are a bit more understandable now in the sense that yes, they've done horrible things, but like I don't know. But I do, I like the like I said before, the explanation of Jean the blacksmith to Jean I'm waiting for you.
Yeah, waiting for you.
And all this kind of stuff.
Well,
and
I made it.
And they explain it again. And Blake mentions earlier, did we do more harm than good?
Yeah.
But then the blacksmith reassures them that every time one of the brothers' creations come to the Ever After, you do more good than you can possibly imagine. Yeah. Now we have somewhat in Juniper here as our protectors. Now we have Neo possibly as a new god, like god of the world and stuff. As much bad as you think you would, because of them, the genial gems came into existence.
Yeah.
But it also parallels, the cat, now, a broken heart can do so much bad because Alex lied to the cat and didn't take her to Remnant, so.
And I think also too, like I was saying here, that the cat wasn't able, there was no one able to take the cat to the tree for repairs. It couldn't ascend, so it couldn't repair its broken heart. I'm just not sure if that was then and now it can be. But I'm not sure because again, it depends whether the Jabberwockers are real or not. It really because they had the bird there, which we understand got eaten by the Jabberwockers at the market. So
good point.
Yeah, I don't know.
So I assume they're not necessarily real.
Rip Daddy John. Yes, he gets his his younger form. I love that too. When he goes, "Is this what my voice sounded like?"
Yeah.
Miles it's funny too because amazing voice acting for John.
Yeah, and he's had stories too about how I'm trying to think exactly what it was. I think I remember him telling a story on a podcast somewhere where he had his Volume 1 Jean voice, and then after they finished recording Volume 1, he went, I want to say he went to England or he went on a trip, and he got so goddamn drunk, and he got so goddamn sick that he couldn't do that voice again. So from then on, Volume 2 onward, John's a little different.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where I love they put that in there because obviously he had the voice for the older Jean.
Yes.
And then he goes back to his older voice, and I didn't even realize it was different.
No, I didn't really.
And then he mentions it, and it's like, oh my god, it is really different. But Miles is incredible voice actor, and that's why I loved any time Jean got to do emotional stuff because I love that passion. The fight, argument between Ruby and Jean in episode 7. I love that passion Miles can give to the character sometimes. And it's interesting too because I feel like there's definitely some. Again, you have Bumblebee together, you have Ruby on her own, and then you possibly have White Knight as one. Weiss, the way Weiss is reacting to Jean and stuff. This volume, I could definitely see them going that direction going forward. Which again, considering how much that was teased in volumes 1 to 3 and stuff, I feel like that would be okay. And again, you have Pyrrha back in volume 2 supporting Jean.
Yes. Yeah.
Pyrrha was happy for Jean to go after Weiss. It was just that Weiss wasn't receptive. But I think Weiss is a much different person now. Again, age thing. Again, they're both consenting adults. I don't think it's that big of a deal once you're at a certain age, regardless of whether Jean's 19 or 40 or whatever you want to say. You know,
I do
yeah.
He's retained his memories, so he still has the memories, of course, of the 10, 20 years he spent in the Ever After. It's just he's got those years back now. So not just that he's younger, is that he's got those years back, and that's what Alex basically was giving back to him.
Yeah.
His life back. Yeah.
Yeah, because you could argue that it was because Alex poisoned him is the reason why he got stuck in the Ever After. Granted, he would have stayed for Team RWBY anyway.
Yeah.
And I am glad, as much as I did like the look and I liked old John, at the end of the day, the fact that it was done by some dumb, stupid Clockwork Orange, I'm glad they undid that. Because I feel like if they gave a more significant reason as to why he was older, I feel like, okay, keep him older. But because it was the dumb orange, good, undo that, because that was dumb. It was funny, but it was dumb.
But I think it was important, and it's going to be very important for John's character.
And it parallels RWBY as the foil and like the whole imposter syndrome stuff. I get it. I have no problem that it happened. It's just that don't make it permanent because it was stupid.
John.
But I love how every time we get the brother stories, I feel like we've gotten it like 3 or 4 times now. That again, like the power to destroy was clearing the fields, was making the place suitable and stuff. You know, the creating of the wilderness and stuff. I love, but don't necessarily. I don't know the significance of, but I love the parallel between, like, obviously, you know, the balance and the gods, the 2, compared to RWBY the 4.
Yes.
And you have, like, the creation of the flowers and stuff.
I love that shot with the flowers.
I love that visually. I love that thematically. I don't know if that actually means anything, really, because I don't think RWBY are going to become the gods of the world. Or I get that Team RWBY can bring balance to the world, and if that's all it's implying, then I think that's all it's implying.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where I could totally see people reaching and grabbing that and taking it too far. It's like how, all Team RWBY should become the maidens. Like, no, none of the Team RWBY should become the maidens. No. We have so many other female characters, like Ilya, Nora, those characters that probably I feel like should become maidens and that kind of stuff. Yeah. Winter is a great example of that, even though her name's Winter, that's dumb, but that's fine. I mean, like I said earlier, we like the cat and the Jabberwocker were like the new god of light and dark for this world kind of thing. They can, or not necessarily, but they can at least do their roles.
Yes.
They can, the cat can create and mend, while the Jabberwocker can destroy. And I like that it's obviously the parallel to the Grimm, because obviously the god of creation thought that this was too much. But it's like, well, no, we've created it, so we have to live with that consequence. Which I like. Also gives justification to the god of dark, because the god of dark is like, yes, this is bad, but we can't just undo something. We can't just destroy something we created.
No.
Obviously that flips by the time we get to the humans, but but I like, again, again, these are fallible beings. They're changing and they're warping and they're from their experiences and stuff. But I do like, again, how I'm curious how this took, because we talked about last week the possibility of being like, the Ever After was their placing in terms creation. Of was the idea of there being the first creation, and the idea of it being not a physical world, and it being like life and death doesn't matter. But when they make Remnant, it's a physical world where life and death does matter. So it's the mirror. Obviously, that's not the case. But I am curious, again, how, like, Ascension is a thing in this world, and they were probably aware of it by the time they left, and how when they go create Remnant, they create more life and death. There's more of like a balance and stuff, which is definitely interesting for sure. But at the end of the day, it's an experiment. They go off and make other worlds and stuff. So
I think and you're right. And your thought was that the door was there for the gods to leave the Ever After and to go on to eventually make Remnant, which was correct. We just we're almost close. We just didn't realize they were born in the Ever After.
And also the idea that the portal doesn't take them anyway, it just takes them to the void.
Yeah.
And from there, it basically takes them to empty space. And from there, they can create and warp world and make worlds and universes and galaxies and all this kind of stuff, or whatever. Or at least world. I shouldn't go too far. At least they can make planets, at the very least.
It's definitely something I wasn't expecting to see in this volume.
But it's also one of those things, too. Yeah, no, I wasn't expecting brother stuff at all, really.
The origin of the brothers, and that fact as well that they weren't always the gods they appear to be as well.
Yeah. Which, again, and I've said that a million times, I like the gods, but not in the sense that they're the all-powerful, deities of the universe. I like the idea that these are just two powerful beings with the ability to create.
Yeah.
I think that grounds them a lot more. And I like the idea too, almost that if that, because I mentioned too about worlds, I like the idea too if the gods didn't necessarily create the world, they just found a floating rock and created life on it. Like I'm saying, like rather than them saying create world, they simply found an empty rock, a husk, a planet, and created remnant from that. And then just go to another planet to try again. I like the idea of just limiting their powers. Like they're not gods, they're just very powerful beings.
They're creators, and that's what I like to think of the
creators and destroyers
blacksmith as well. That's
the thing creator. Is the tree the actual god? Is the blacksmith the actual god? Or are they just in another line of someone who created them before?
That's true.
It seems to be that the Ever After, as far as their understanding, has existed forever. The tree has existed forever. But then that's just their understanding. Like how in Remnant, we thought we were the only world. We didn't realize there was a second humanity before us.
Yes.
And that the Ever After existed. So again, it's all just a matter of, that can change and stuff at all. I like also the justification that Neo will be changed. Neo can be reborn. She will be back. Whether we see it or not doesn't matter, but the fact that she won't just be gone forever.
Yeah, and with somewhat too being the first Afterin who has multiple roles, not just the one role. I really like that idea as well because he's a combination of things. He's not just one thing. So
I get what you're saying. Yes.
Yeah, because all the other Afterins have their roles to play in the world, whereas with somewhat he's got. He's the first Afterin with multiple roles.
And that's the big point of the ending of this volume. That's the huge point that and I just realized this. What is one of the first lines in the show? What is one of the first lines we hear in the show?
Man was born from dust or...
A small spark of hope is enough to ignite change.
Yes.
And that's the whole point of the end of this volume, is that the little bit of kindness RWBY shows Little allows Little to ascend and become a RWBY that can stay in this world and protect the world the way RWBY is going back to Remnant to do for Remnant. And also I like to we didn't talk about it either. I like the idea that there was never any question that Somewhat or Juniper would come with them. This is their world. They have to stay and protect it, just like we have to go back to our world and protect it. I like that there was no come with us or anything like that. I like that was just like you need to stay here because you need to protect this world. And again, a small spark of hope is enough to change. And again, that's RWBY's message of Volume 8. That's why we see what we see at the end of Vacuo. And again, I think they even mentioned it again in Volume 5, Oscar and Ozpin. She has a spark. She has this undoubtable change ability to inspire.
You get a mini scythe made from penny sword. Oh goodness.
No, scythes are impractical. Just keep the sword. RWBY's just RWBY. Don't there's a reason why Crow has a sword form.
Yes.
And then and like we mentioned earlier, Alex leaving the dagger behind, her last wish, her last bit of power before she went to the afterlife.
Yes.
Was to fix Jean, correct her mistake. Yes. That she did with Jean.
And gave him his life back, basically, all those years back.
Yeah. And then we get the you go when you are needed most.
Yeah, not where, but when.
Which I like too. That thematically also implies that, there is a victory here.
Yeah.
The tree, the god, the blacksmith, whoever, can see that this is where you are needed most. And I guess that doesn't necessarily mean where you will win, but I think that's enough hope for Team RWBY that if the blacksmith sent us here, that means there must be a path to victory. There must be a way where we can beat, change, or fix Salem.
I kind of get that feel too, that even if we don't get Volume 10, we get the feeling that whatever happens, they're going to be successful. They are who they need to be now, with all the experiences and everything under the belt to be able to be successful.
Yeah, the only things that I would argue if the show ends, it doesn't get tied up properly, are maybe the two lost relics.
Yes.
Even though we know what the Sword of Destruction is, but arguably the two lost relics never got kind of revealed. I guess a maiden we still don't know about.
Yeah.
And
what actually happened to Summer.
And I guess yeah, okay, that's fair. And I guess maybe Cinder resolution. But everything else I feel like is okay to be up in the air.
Yeah.
If what happens. I love the detail. I don't know if you quite caught it or mentioned it in your reaction. But the idea that it's all ships there. There's Veil ships, there's Atlas ships, there's Vacuo ships.
I think I really just mentioned Atlas ships.
You did just mention Atlas, yeah. But like
yes.
the one in the center was the Veil ship that we saw back in Volume 1. Haven't really seen since then. There were Vacuo airships.
Yeah, they do.
I couldn't tell, and I'm still not convinced that either Amity Marina has been converted or it's just simply behind a bigger airship.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
It's hard to tell.
Yeah, I know some people have speculated that Amity Marina has been converted into a warship, or it could just be behind a bigger warship that's there, which I guess doesn't necessarily confirm, but I think I was right in terms of Amity Arena was so high up that it eventually just drifted until it got to Vacuo. That's what I think, at least, because they're that high in the atmosphere. It's like when you send a satellite up, it can go across the other side of the planet before it crashes back down, depending on how high it went up.
They might have been able to direct a little bit where it was going to fall, but
so I like that. I am of the belief that this is only probably I think it's only a few months later. I don't think it's that drastic of a time skip. The only reason why I'm confident about that is because, one, I don't want to see a bunch of characters altered up. Like, I want to keep our characters as we know them, at least to a degree. But the main thing is because I feel like if we do too big of a time skip, it completely ruins Oscar Ozpin stuff.
Yes, that's
so I feel like we're so close time-wise to that.
Yeah.
That I feel like we can't skip too much time. I think a couple of months, half a year, maybe even a year at most.
Yeah, I feel the same. I don't think it'll be more than a year. Yeah, I think it's definitely been
and also, too, like, Salem obviously takes her time. She's also going to go and regroup for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's not going to rush to Vacuo.
And Mercury
so I think it's okay.
And Tyrion were sent to Vacuo, so they'll be scoping and,
Yeah.
Yeah, sent ahead to...
I'm curious if global communications have been restored, or if that's still iffy. Like, obviously they still have the Seagrim, so obviously Tyrion and Mercury can still communicate with Salem. But yeah, like I can also imagine Tyrion and Mercury kind of being stranded in Vacuo, not really having communication of Salem and Cinder at the moment. So they're kind of they've probably just been skulking around for a few weeks and months and stuff, just kind of like laying low in Vacuo. We're waiting to hear about something. Obviously, Salem's going to go back and rebuild her whole army. Who knows how long that could take? Because clearly that takes time. Is she going to come back with another whale? Is she going to try a different strategy? Because obviously she was stealth. And, stealth with Veil. She was a bit more, gung-ho about Mistral. And then Atlas was more like all in war. So I'm curious what her measure would be here. Obviously, there is the tie-in to... Before the Dawn. At the end of Before the Dawn.
Yes.
About the storm coming and stuff, and Sun with his cousin talking about like the coming storm and the idea of like the grim storm and all this kind of stuff coming to Vacuo.
Yeah.
I do like that. I guess I was half right in terms of, like, I feel like we wouldn't see Vacuo, but we did get any like assay. We just got a painting basically of Vacuo.
Yeah, I do like we had This Will Be the Day.
Yeah,
music.
I was just gonna mention that.
Yeah. I didn't pick up on it in my reaction, but afterwards I'm like, yes.
That's also playing in the earlier scene as well.
Yes.
In the blacksmith, it's just not noticeable, but then once you get through, it's I really like. I think it's Peter Reed, but it's Peter something. I apologize. Who's basically doing most of the main scoring for this. Who did the scoring for? He worked on the game.
Yes.
RFL.
Yep.
He's very like open about like how he's going back and like getting
We have seen all the kingdoms now. Yes.
Scores and references and little bits and pieces from older volumes, like doing like stuff like This Will Be the Day We're Waiting For.
Yeah.
Which I love. This will be the day we're waiting for. This will be the day we open up the door.
Yes.
And here they are coming through a portal. Yeah. I never know how much of this stuff is like thought about ahead of time. But there's a lot of coincidences and reviews not thought ahead.
I think that was quite funny too. Yeah. Also too that like in Volume 8 we had the episode was called The Final Word, and that was Cinder saying checkmate to Ironwood. And whereas with this finale, the final word that was spoken was Ruby saying thank you to the blacksmith, and I thought that was very nice too.
Which I also think is a nice parallel, because I think it's saying thank you to the audience as well, and the community, and like, if this is the end, thank you to us all and stuff. I really like that detail really and nice. Stuff.
Yeah, I really like that little detail.
The only other 2 points I have that aren't from the episode, like just like stuff I saw, was there is the parallel of Salem and Ruby. Salem tried to take her own life, obviously, and you know, became something worse for it. Ruby tried to do it and became something better.
Yes.
I think there's obviously there's like, you know, questionable ground on that subject. I don't want to go too deep into that, but I like the parallel that's there.
Yeah.
More than anything, rather than the actual meaning behind it, but just like the parallel of it. And I like, again, always like mentioning, going back to Volume 2, you know, they're supposed to be the defenders of the world. They will be, but you know, they won't have that role forever. Again, they won't have that role forever. Ever after roles and stuff.
Yes.
But now we finally get that. You know. It's one of those things where, like, you know, we have possible White Knight. We have Bumblebee confirmed. Ruby, you know, finally Ruby as the, you know, person she needs to be.
Yes.
So I think this is a really good end. Yeah, if it is, I think it works well. You know, Salem is an undefeatable monster. We'll never defeat Salem, but the point is we won't stop. We will keep trying, and we will defend this world to the bitter end.
Yeah.
Which I like. If this is the end. We also got obviously the song "The Edge."
Yes.
In this one, and I don't know. I like the song.
Yeah, I liked it too.
But it gave me a Volume 1 Wings vibes.
Yeah.
And I just remember, I think the thing that bugs me, not the song, but the thing that bugs me most is that I think I sat down to listen to the song 10 times and just phased out every single time and just wasn't paying attention anymore.
Yeah.
There's not that, again, the lyrics, it's a pretty slow, you know, there's not many lyrics or anything like that. And obviously, it's more about Casey than necessarily Ruby. Like, she just said that herself. It's more like a personal song about herself.
Yeah.
But, you know, it applies really well to the show and stuff. Yeah. And, it was a good song. I did like it.
I liked it too. Yes, I still need to listen to all of Inside, because I haven't done that yet. I was going to actually do a reaction to that song.
Oh really? Oh, well, there you go. Yeah. I've been listening to Inside for.
I think it'll be interesting now that I finished watching the volume, and then listening to the lyrics on Inside. I think will be interesting.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but overall, obviously no post-credit scene. We've got the trailer for the movie.
Yes.
And stuff, which I was fine. I know some people get mad at that, but I was like, okay. I wasn't expecting an end. I wasn't expecting an end credit scene anyway, so it didn't bother me.
After like how the volume ended, that shot with them at Vacchio, like what else was there to put as an end credit scene?
Yeah.
That was like the ending of the volume. They didn't need to add anything to that.
Yeah, like the only thing I could maybe speculate was maybe you just see like sun on the horizon and he looks up and he sees the portal appear. Or something like that. Like, you know, like someone notices the portal appearing. That'd be about it.
Yeah.
Or like maybe like a Salem tease or something like that, like what she'd been up to kind of thing.
Yeah.
But again, I feel like that's probably out of character for this volume. Like, you know, it's Team RWBY. That's the point. It's RWBY and their struggles and stuff. Overall, I really liked it. Obviously, I can't say off the top of my head if it's my favorite volume or not because it's recency biased. But I have no problem. I loved it.
I think definitely for me
100%.
one of my favorites. I want to watch it all the way through. Again.
I love that. It, like, you know, it was a long episode. Obviously, the longest episode we got. And yeah, it's very much episode 9 and 10 on one episode. For sure. Which is very old school to RWBY because I went back and was watching a reaction series of RWBY.
Yes.
And watched through Volume 1, 2, and the people in question are halfway, about almost up to the bad stuff of Volume 3. The channel's definitely not definitive, by the way. They're a good reaction channel. I really enjoy their stuff. God, Volume 1, so bad. I forget. As the years go on, I'm just like, oh, God, I hate watching this. I love Volume 2. I know a lot of people also don't like Volume 2. Like, as the years go on, people don't like Volume 2. I love Volume 2. I think Volume 2 is so well written, and so, like, yes, it's just like, it's the Roman arc, then it's the dance arc, and then it's the Glenn arc.
Yeah.
And I understand that, like, some people are saying that nothing happens in Volume 2. I'm like, I don't get
what happens.
A lot happens in Volume 2. Some of the best stuff, the new stuff references is Volume 2 stuff.
Yeah.
So I really like that, and obviously Volume 3 is still really good. Like, Volume 3 has no right to be as good as it is.
Yeah.
but it does earn it with how like emotional it is for sure.
This volume was very unique on its own, very different to the previous volumes, and I really loved that too.
100%. I've said before, I think it's volume 4 done really well.
yeah.
I think, really awesome. I'm very excited to see where we go next. Again, RTX is only 2 months away, so we'll get something.
Hopefully.
Whether that's confirmation or just like, we'll need to wait longer. At least we'll get some sort of knowledge of that. I know that Kerry was talking on Twitter and he seemed confident that we will get volume 10. He just maybe needs some financial backing from Crunchyroll. That seems to be the implication that, hey, we'll get done. We're just waiting for some money to come in, and hopefully get that from Crunchyroll, because I feel like that will be their best supporter and stuff. And obviously make sure to go it's doing really well on Crunchyroll. I think it's doing really well there. And I remember I was looking up just out of curiosity if I looked up most popular on Crunchyroll, and it's not that far down. Like it's not that it's surprised. I think it was higher up than I was expecting it to be.
Yeah.
In terms of like what's most popular Crunchyroll at the moment, like it was up there.
It was up there.
It was maybe like 20 or 30 down, but considering how much Crunchyroll has,
like
it was still higher up than I was expecting.
Japanese anime, mostly.
Yeah. So and again, I know it's rough with Rooster Teeth isn't the best place. Crunchyroll also isn't really the best place either.
No.
But at the end of the day, I want.
On Spotify, yes.
Yeah, the music's done. All music's always done really well and stuff as well.
Just
I want the show to continue. I want people to get their jobs back, if possible.
Under Peaches.
Still haven't seen the Mario movie yet either.
No, I haven't seen it yet either, but I've heard that people saying they really enjoyed it. So
I mean, people say like the story's a bit, but it's still just it's a really good, fun little movie.
Yeah.
Just really get voice actors next time, please. So I mean, we'll be back obviously for something obviously with the soundtrack and the film. And from what I have seen from the film, it seems like there's a lot of there's a lot of focus on RWBY stuff as well, not just DC stuff.
Yes.
So I'm really looking forward to that, because again, you got to remember this is a volume's worth of content. Like it's like an hour 20. It's like it's a lot of content. Or I don't know how long the film is, but it's a lot.
I think it's an hour and a half or something. I think.
Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff there, not just DC superhero stuff as well. But that does well as well, because obviously that would be really good for Warner Brothers to get. That would be good for Warner Brothers to get an idea that RWBY is an IP worth supporting.
Yes.
So we'll be back for the film review. We'll be back for the soundtrack at some point, hopefully within the next month or two, as far as the film goes. And apart from that, I seriously thank you everyone who's been watching, whether that's live now, whether that's the whole season, whether that's YouTube, whatever. I love coming up here and discussing as much as stressful as anxious it is to make sure I have words to say. While I'm here, I'm always really, really enjoying it.
Yes, and I enjoy it too. I'm gonna miss having our little chats every Saturday.
Yeah. So, hopefully the hiatus won't be as long, but
hopefully not.
Yeah, thank you, Nightwalker, especially. I'll shout you out particularly because you've been here for a lot of it in particular.
Thank you.
So thank you a lot for that. And just thank you all. Thank you for us. Thank you anyone who watches us, or the Boopcast as well, our sister podcast, I guess, in a way of speaking. It's really appreciated. And if there's more RWBY, we will be back. We love the show. We will not be abandoning the show. We love the show, and we want it to do well. I want people to get their jobs back. I want all manner of good things to come from it. And watch the show, support reactors, support the community. This fandom is incredible. Like the amount of what has given me so much life recently is all the people who've been watching Our House, and that show ended.
Oh yeah.
And all the people on Twitter who watch Our House and who are watching RWBY. And there's so many Twitter threads right now of people reacting to RWBY. Yeah. I think even Summer's voice actress has a RWBY reaction thread. Where she's going through and I think so. I could be wrong, but I think because I don't think she had seen the show before she did the voice acting for it. So I think she's doing her own thread, watching it through Morgan, I believe.
Yes.
There's especially on Twitter. There's a lot of. I know Twitter's a shit show at the moment, but again, there's a lot of good. As much as the world and a lot of things are a shit show right now, there's always good to come from it. So make sure to go find the good and support everyone. And we'll thank you everyone. Just thank you. Truly.
Praise the great one.
Praise the great one. Okay, the great one's been trending. The great one's been come up again recently.
Oh, did it?
because a lot of people, because the fandom is so, because of Crunchyroll and Our House and all this stuff, because the fandom is so you know, up again in Twitter.
Yes.
People have been resharing old memes and stuff from like old school RWBY days.
God.
Like yours is going up again. I've seen
no.
yours everywhere again, and the great one I saw going around again as well. And
I
like,
did see a pic of Yang as a cactus.
Yeah, people are already going hiatus crazy.
Like the hiatus is just started.
And Blacktus and Blake O'Knight and all this other dumb stuff that people support, and it is crazy.
Yep.
But yeah, all plays the great one.
And
Waifu. And Waifu. Yeah.
Thank you all for watching.
When RWBY is back, we'll be back, and we hope you are here to join us in that journey. And yeah, just thank you everyone, and whenever next time will be, we will see you then.
Yes. Thank you all for watching. Catch you later. Bye.